Be ready 5 seconds. Humans, like most mammals, live on land. Land, as you may have noticed, has many forms and features. Its appearance changes a lot from one region to another. A landform is a physical feature on the surface of our planet Earth. Landforms take shape over millions of years and have a significant connection with the environment and life. They can broadly be divided into three categories. These landforms have different climates and are home to a variety of flora and fauna. Humans have adapted to all landforms, but the number of people living on different kinds of landforms varies throughout the world. Mountains are landforms that are much higher than the surrounding landscape. They can be recognized by a broad base, steep slopes, and a narrow summit. Depending on their height, some mountains are covered with snow. At lower altitudes, the snow melts every summer and turns into water that feeds rivers. At high altitudes, the snow may never melt. Other highlands with a lower height, less steep slopes, and rounded tops are called hills. In the rest of India, most precipitation is in the form of rain and hail. But at higher altitudes, if it is cold enough, snow will fall, covering the landscape in a soft and beautiful white blanket. Snow and hailstones are nothing but precipitation of water in a solid state. Most of the world's mountains are grouped in mountain ranges. Some of these ranges stretch for thousands of kilometers. Mountains with tall and sharp peaks, like the Himalayas, are relatively young, which means that they were formed recently in the Earth's history, but that is still millions of years ago. Shorter and more rounded mountains and hills, like the Aravalli Range, are much older and have been rounded by erosion. Sometimes, as with the Himalayas, upliftment as well as erosion continue to this day. Mountain slopes are often covered with a type of forest called montane forest, where conifer trees such as pines and deodar are common. These conifer trees grow tall with thin pointed leaves. At higher altitudes, the trees give way to grasses, mosses. Deep forests, flowing rivers, lakes, grasslands, and caves in the mountains are home to diverse fauna. For instance, the golden eagle, the snow leopard, the grey fox, and the black bear. Ganga is the Indian name of the largest river originating in the Himalayas. In English, Ganges is also used. Nearly 2,500 kilometer long, this river has numerous tributaries, that is, other rivers joining it. The mountain terrain is usually rugged or rough and has steep slopes. This means that regular farming can only be practiced in some valleys. Cultivation is practiced on the slopes by cutting steps into the slope. This is called terrace farming. In many mountainous regions of the world, herding is the preferred occupation over agriculture. Tourism is often an important source of income for the people living in the mountains. The crisp mountain air and scenic beauty attract many tourists. Some tourists also go to the mountains for sports such as hiking, mountaineering, and paragliding. For many centuries, people have also traveled to these uplands for pilgrimages to holy sites. But an excessive inflow of visitors can also put the fragile mountain environment under pressure. It is often difficult to find the right balance. Many traditional communities around the world consider mountains to be sacred places and worship them. Such reverence for mountain summits is also found elsewhere in India as well as in other parts of the world. A plateau is a landform that rises up from the surrounding land and has a more or less flat surface. Some of its sides are often steep slopes. Like mountains, plateaus can be young or old in terms of the Earth's history. Two examples of plateaus are the Tibetan Plateau, the largest and highest plateau in the world, and the Deccan Plateau. Like mountains, plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. They have been called storehouses of minerals. As a result, mining is a major activity on plateaus, where many of the world's largest mines are found. For example, the East African Plateau is famous for gold and diamond mining. In India, huge reserves of iron, coal, and manganese are found in the Chota Nagpur Plateau. The plateau environment is very diverse across the world. Many plateaus have a rocky soil, which makes them less fertile than plains and therefore less favorable to farming. An exception is that of lava plateaus that are formed through volcanic activity, as they often have a rich black soil. Plateaus are also home to many spectacular waterfalls. Plains are landforms that have an extensive, flat, or gently undulating surface. They do not have any large hills or deep valleys. They are generally not more than 300 meters above sea level. Floodplains are one type of plains formed by rivers originating in mountain ranges, where they collect particles of rock, sand, and silt called sediments. These sediments are carried all the way to the plains, where the rivers deposit them, making the soil very fertile. As a result, these plains are ideal for growing crops of all kinds, and agriculture is a major economic occupation in this landform. Plains also support a variety of flora and fauna. First civilizations developed around rivers in fertile plains. In our times too, A large part of the world's population lives in plains. About 40 crore people of the total Indian population live in India's Ganga plain, often called the Gangetic plain. As with many other plains of the world, the major occupations of people in this region include river fishing and agriculture. Food crops such as rice, wheat, maize, barley, and millets are grown. Fiber crops such as cotton, jute, and hemp are also grown in the Gangetic plain. Traditional agriculture has been mostly rain fed, that is, watered through rainfall. In recent decades, however, agriculture has turned to irrigation, with water brought to the fields through networks of canals or pumped from groundwater.